Just because Marc Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Mark, here's Mike Tuck.
Welcome one, welcome all. It's the Beat of Sports on FM 96.9 The Game and AM 740, Orlando's sports leader. I am Mike Tuck, in for the traveling Marc Daniels on his way to Waco. In fact, the flight should be in the air right now. I think he said 9:30 they were taking off. Chris Vasquez, double cowboy look on the other side of the glass.
Well, so I did magic this morning, and I'm doing magic again tomorrow. Their studio is like a damn ice box.
I was going to say, you got the hoodie over the hat, which is a unique
It
look.
is an ice box in their studio. So getting there at 5:30 in the morning.
Sure.
Sun's not out.
You should have just walked in with a blanket on.
They actually do have a blanket in studio.
I believe it.
Even they understand it gets damn cold in there.
I believe it.
So
I believe it.
I got to stay warm.
Yeah, it's such we're the same thing over at Dan Patrick because obviously, with the technology, ton of equipment over there. So the buildings are always cold. So most of my students show up to class with long sleeves or hoodies or whatever the case might be, which is such a contradiction of terms when it's 95 degrees outside.
I was going to say we're under like a fire warning outside, and I'm going to go outside and be burning up.
Yeah. Yeah. You rip that thing off when you're in the elevator on the way down or down the stairs, whichever you take.
I got a wife beater on under it, so.
I mean, I don't care. I'm not judging.
All right.
It's a radio station. Like, seen worse. Seen a lot worse. Someone probably showed up in their Snuggie. They still sell those things? Snuggies? The blanket pajama things?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Wife has one of those.
That's the blanket with the sleeves.
Yeah, it's like literally like a pajama blanket.
Yeah.
Like it's a blanket, but you wear it as a pajama thing.
Right. It's got sleeves. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah.
2-for-1 deal. Man, a lot to get to here this morning. Some of it is a reaction to what was. Some of it is, what's going on right now. Some of it's what's coming up next, which there are a few things that are burning on the stove right now that we'll address today. Let's address like last night first, and then we'll talk about post-mortem for the Magic a little bit more because I have some thoughts there as what this offseason might look like since they've been eliminated in the last 2 weeks since I was here. The Knicks able to survive last night in what Chris Vasquez described as, what was the word you chose? I don't want to put a word in your mouth.
I thought it was terrible.
Terrible? Was that it? I felt
terrible
like disgrace might have been a word.
No, I didn't say disgrace.
Okay, no, I'm imagining that.
So basketball as a whole has, in my opinion, a lot of issues. The flopping, the tanking, the constant foul calls.
What bothers you the most of those issues?
Right now, it's the constant whining. Like watching the Sixers-Knicks game last night.
The in-between plays of a player complaining about a foul call bothers you more than anything?
It's so annoying because nobody ever commits a foul.
I understand.
Nobody ever commits a foul.
I understand. I'm just a little surprised that bothers you more than anything.
Annoying. Like, get over it. Get over it. Foul's called. Move on. It is what it is. It's just stop. Stop it.
Okay. And I told CV as he was complaining about this to me, I said, so you're complaining about a game that had 25 lead changes, the most since the legendary Game 7 between the Clippers and the Spurs years ago when Tim Duncan and Chris Paul exchanged game winners in that first round series, which was one of the best 7-game series ever, regardless of round, but one of the best Game 7s ever as well. So that's the game you're complaining
when
about.
You have
this fun back and forth the whole way.
53 combined free throws.
It's a lot of free throws, but that's not necessarily
where the most of the game is.
No,
is at the damn free throw line.
No, that's not too extreme. I bet if we looked it up, the average number of free throws in a game is probably around 40 anyway.
I forget what game it was, but at the half combined, there was 46 free throws taken. I think that might have been one of the Magic games.
Maybe.
46 free throws at the half.
Okay.
That doesn't annoy you? There's no flow to the game.
Look, there's a lot of things, man. I'm trying to find a ray of sunshine. There are good things. If there's a game I'm complaining about last night, it's the late one because that thing was over. I probably could have got an extra hour of sleep, just trusting there wasn't going to be an epic comeback. But the sports fan in me that's lived long enough to see crazy things happen was fearful that somehow the Timberwolves were going to rise from the dead. They shouldn't be playing now anyway. Somehow they won a series, without their starting backcourt and their next best guy off the bench in the backcourt. Now they're playing guys in the rotation that, weren't even playing during the season. Just a compliment to them and what they're doing. But yeah, San Antonio dominant last night. It was the Knicks winning, but really the big story out of last night is probably OG Anunoby, and now wondering about an MRI and what that's going to hold for him. A play he got hurt on, and I'm not even sure a lot of people realized how hurt he was when he got hurt, because it was sort of a attempted lob and then scramble, and then he's opting out of the game. But pretty important player for what the Knicks do. And it went in Eastern Conference right now where, I think you can rank it, but like all four teams are pretty close to being level. Like there's not much of a surprise if one of them were to emerge. Now, the Sixers being down 2-0, you'd be a little bit surprised, but going into the four that were left, pretty even. So this could be one that hurts the Knicks, maybe not against Philly, but against the winner of Detroit and Cleveland.
I didn't get a chance to get to this in On the Mark, Off the Mark on Tuesday, but I was going to ask Mark if he thinks, and I'll ask you, if you think the winner of the Knicks-Sixers series is going to be the team that ultimately represents the East in the NBA Finals.
No.
You don't think
even
so?
Less so today.
Really?
Yeah, much less so today, because if OG has to miss a hamstring, Luka's dealing with a hamstring. We don't know the severity of what OG Anunoby has right now, but it could be one of those that takes him out of the next series. Cleveland and Detroit are right there with New York to think that if he can't play, that one of those two teams isn't going to be able to beat them. And I'm not even so sure the Knicks, they were playing well enough and still are playing well, even though they were able to just barely survive last night, obviously dominant in the handful of games before then, to think, New York can still win the East, but I wouldn't favor Philly against either Cleveland or Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's such a contrast in styles in those two. I'm very curious how that game plays out tonight, because, Cleveland shoots threes as well and about as much as anybody in the league. In Detroit, you saw them against the Magic. They're going to kind of just bloody you up and beat you up. And, if Tobias Harris shows up and or somebody else, Jalen Duren played well in game one. If those guys show up, they're tough because that's enough offense for them. But you just wonder if they're going to have enough offense on any given night. So, no, I would not say that. It's far from an automatic, and much less so now.
Would the winner of the NBA Finals come from the West?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I said this to KV. No one's beating Oklahoma City right now. Minus Shea getting hurt. They're dominating with their second best player, who would be the best player, Jalen Williams, on a lot of teams in the NBA. It's like they don't even miss a beat. Everyone's got their own situation. I'm not saying this, but I'm saying it because we're here in Orlando. Yes, boohoo, Franz was hurt. Oklahoma City is a train that keeps chugging, man. Doesn't matter who's out. They just keep rolling down the tracks. They dealt with injuries all year long. They're fine, right? They're that good. And if he comes back, they're going to be even better. And then they're going to have an offseason where they may have to lose two of their rotation guys, two guys that are vital to the rotation, and it may not matter then. That's how much depth they have. And they get a bonus of a lottery ticket this weekend that I'm sure will cash. The rest of us can just shake our heads, because I'm sure the NBA wants to rig Oklahoma City to be great for the future. But, that's what people will say if they do win the lottery.
It would be a fascinating turn of events.
I guess
you could call it.
The two most fascinating scenarios, I was going to talk lottery tomorrow, but it probably would be like Dallas, now that they've won it with Cooper Flagg, to see, especially with lottery reform coming, what would happen there. And then Oklahoma City would be the other really fascinating story, because of, how good they are right now. And they might have the ability to add a rookie contract star into the mix. And that guy wouldn't even have to be a star. He would just have to fit in with the other guys they got there.
You wouldn't even have to be a starter right away.
It's true. They could literally draft AJ DeBonsa 1, and he may not start. Any other team, he might average 25 a game his rookie year, and for that team, he may not even start.
Well, imagine them getting a top 3 pick.
I know that anything. Even where they're picking, it's going to be a bonus to what they're doing right now. But yeah, Oklahoma City looks like a like a truck. The Lakers played, I thought, pretty well in game one. They just don't have enough offense right now. Like Austin Reeves, Marcus Smart are two guys they're going to have to play better. for them to have a chance to win. You know, they got LeBron to play well and Rui played well offensively, but they just didn't get enough of a contribution.
What's the likelihood that Luka plays, or is he going to play in this series?
I don't think he's going to play in the series. No, I don't think we'll see him again this season.
So you're not taking Ric Flair's tweet into account?
Which he went back and clarified. I guess I happened to see yesterday. I heard Colin actually bring up the Flair thing, and then I saw late yesterday where he went back and qualified it and talked about like, oh yeah, if like Luka was playing, the Lakers at 33 points there, it doesn't work like that. I respect it. Everyone can have a forum and have an opinion. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, it would make a difference. Like on some level, like if they had that same recipe and every game's different that they did in game one and Luka's out there, yeah, they probably would have been in the mix to win that game.
Well, we can appreciate Luka's offense without a doubt,
but
would his defense become more of a liability than his offense actually helped the Lakers against OKC?
No, they would need his offense. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in thinking, yes, Oklahoma City, no different than Oklahoma City. Still, I thought the Lakers, again, JJ Redick had a phenomenal game plan for what he has available on his roster right now against the best team in the league. But it's just really hard to execute against that team. You have to be able to take something away. And they were blitzing Shea, taking the ball out of his hands. They were doing it in different spots on the court, not even with Shea, but with other guys. They were doing their best to keep him out of lane, but they still got out in transition. They're still going to generate open threes. You're kind of hoping and banking on like a lot of their guys missing. And when they don't miss, you know, you got to pick your poison with them. They're just so good.
Yeah.
That's why they're the defending champions, and they look like, I said it before, the best chance to repeat since Golden State repeated now, 7 years ago? So it's been a minute. The Magic, obviously entering a very interesting offseason for them. I said it's wash, rinse, repeat. There's not like there's something new we need to discuss based on last year or even the year before. It's the same issues with health and shooting, in one order or the other. And I would say shooting's probably more important. Health can be unpredictable.
You need to be
but even
healthy.
My argument is even if they're healthy, the shooting problem is still present. It needs to be addressed.
Well, I would say that because they haven't been healthy and because we saw 180 minutes of their core four on the floor at the same time, all of this past season, I think that kind of takes precedence over the shooting.
It's not going to make them better shooters. We'll discuss it because the question I have for you in 50857, if you want to chime in, is,
or if you want to hit up the stream,
you can watch us on the YouTube stream. Yes, on X, YouTube as well. 96.9 Game On. Hello. Which Magic player would you move if you had to move one? And realistically, like you can try to. It's like fantasy. It's like, yeah, like here, take my 3 bench players for your superstar starter.
Right.
In a dream world, yes, that scenario would happen.
I won't answer the question, but can I say I'd move more than one?
Which Magic, you can rank them. Which Magic player would you move if you had to move one, right? And if you want to tag along for what? Because I did write some for what's to throw those out there as well. That's coming up next. It's the Beat of Sports on this Thursday morning on FM 96.9 The Game.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1Forrest1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great. So I told Mark a joke yesterday, and he's like, it's probably a good thing you told me this joke today because Tuck would not have liked it.
Wow. I don't know how I became a more harsh critic than Mark.
You are so tough.
But I don't think I've ever heard Mark laugh at one of your jokes. All right, go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
What presidents were the greenest?
I feel like there's something to do with money, but I will play along. Which presidents were the greenest?
The Bushes. The Bushes.
There was more than one.
Nothing?
I mean, it's just not funny. It's creative. I don't know if it's funny.
It's so impossible. Oh man.
Welcome back to the Beat of Sports. Filling in for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
10 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740 Orlando Sports Leader. Online and streaming on YouTube, 96.9 Game On. You can check out that stream on our Twitter X page as well, 96.9 Game On. Mike Tuck in for Marc Daniels, traveling with UCF Baseball. Can't join us this morning because he is on the flight to Waco. He will join us on the road tomorrow. I'll be back in for him then. Chris Vasquez alongside.
Oh, can I read a text real quick?
Please do. 50857.
Dang, Mike Tuck wears a tie to his radio job?
Going to work at the at the school, at Dan Patrick School Sportscasting when I'm done here. And I do dress nicely for work.
You do.
I do.
I dress like a bum. Very, very casual, laid back.
That's the way most people in the radio business dress, though. And I wouldn't call you a bum. You're dressed down like you'd be walking your dog along the road in your neighborhood.
Dressed comfortably.
You are. No question about it.
Okay. I like that better than bum.
Yeah.
Too hard on myself.
So I wrote down some names.
Okay.
With varying degrees of possibility. And just to show you, and I'll give you an example of how like fickle either fans can be, fans of a team can be. Sometimes we can become myopic and only see in our own little world and think everything's better here. It's like one of those things when you might go into like the draft. We're going to talk about the draft today. You go into the draft and you might feel a certain way about a prospect, but once you draft them, your process changes. You start elevating them in your own eyes because now they're your guy, right? We tend to value our own a little bit more. So I think some of that plays in. And then some just general fandom. I saw a Magic trade proposed by a national person. And then the reaction on both sides, like reading underneath it, was comical because it was almost a 50-50 split of that team will never do that and the Magic will never do that, right? Almost like every side believing they're right and that this is lopsided one way or the other, when in theory it's probably pretty fair. Who is the guy, though, was my question going into the break. Who is the guy, if you have to break up the core, and you don't necessarily have to, but I do question, as I did with KV and the Bridge, like if you don't, the same weaknesses will be present within your starting five unless, again, you keep preaching it, internal improvement. But there is no point for me at this point, now especially that we're into contract extensions with guys, to think that suddenly they're going to turn a corner from becoming a 30%, three-point shooter into a 35 or 40% three-point. So it doesn't, maybe in their careers it'll happen, but not today. So who's the guy, and Chris said he has two, that you would be willing to trade in the right move if you have to break up one of the core four, if you will?
Just going in order, it would be Jalen Suggs at the top.
Okay.
And then Franz Wagner.
Okay.
You can't rely on either of them to stay healthy. And then the offensive liability that Jalen Suggs has become, I get he's elite defensively, but when you're paying someone $30+ million, you kind of need more of a complete game.
Mm-hmm.
And when he shot 18% in the series against Detroit, you just can't have that. So Jalen Suggs would be the top guy I'd trade, then Franz.
Okay. I would imagine the majority of those that would be involved in this conversation and listening would feel the same, maybe in a different order, but probably with those two guys at the top. And the feeling Paolo is still the face of the franchise, or will be, should be, could be the face of the franchise. And Desmond Bane is, on some level, the least likely to move because you just spent so much to acquire him. It would have to be some major blockbuster to completely shift gears and change directions.
Can we get 6 first-round draft picks back?
No, well, I mean,
it's a joke.
I mean, I'll just throw something that's insane, but to get the idea of, like, I don't see them moving Bane. But if, like, Anthony Edwards says, I want out of Minnesota, I want to play with Paolo, then yes, Desmond Bane would be affordable then to bring in Anthony Edwards, right? Like, there's always a possibility unless you're Wemby. Mm-hmm. Then nobody's trading anything, of relevance for Wemby kind of thing. I would start with Franz at the top in some ways because of, and really the number one way is that very similar skill set, style of play, and weakness as Paolo. Not that it has to be one or the other, because there's certainly just the same way the Jays were in Boston with Jalen and Jason. Like, there is skill duplicity there. Although for those guys, not necessarily the same weakness, just the theory of, hey, are they going to be able, and even that's back out there now because of Jaylen Brown's podcast wondering, wonder if they're going to do something there. But that's where I would probably start with it is, hey, if Paolo really is the centerpiece, can you afford to have a guy who expectation would be your second best player not be able to play off of him and be comfortable with spot up threes and or off the dribble taking that shot? It's just become such a normal thing to see in the NBA, and to not have either of your guys do it very well is tough. So I agree with you in a different order. I think Franz brings back more in return because I think there's still a lot of room for his game to grow, especially in different situations, versus Jalen very much. And I said this a year ago, like after they were eliminated, it started to feel a little bit like the way Marcus Smart was feeling in Boston, where you love the player, you appreciate what they do. Even in Boston, it was like, he's the heart and soul of the team. We can't get rid of Marcus. And the minute they did it to get in Porzingis, and then, of course, they brought in another deal, Drew Holiday, they win an NBA title, right? Couldn't get rid of Marcus, and then you win a title without Marcus. And Marcus, as a Laker fan, like, he's been great. In his role, he excels in his role. He's a superstar in his role. And Jalen, on some level, is in that phase of his career. I think there's still room for growth, but is he ever going to be the lead guard you desire? No. Is he ever going to be the shooter you desire? Maybe someday. So there's some weakness there.
What the only thing that really scares me, going back to, you had Franz first, is, and the start of his career, he hardly missed any games. He played 79 and 80, and then even 72 going into his third year. But the last 2 years, out of 164 games, he's played in 94.
Right. And if there's fear on this end, that has to factor in, and to some degree with Jalen as well. Yeah. But if there's skepticism on the acquiring team side, that comes into play as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Much
100%.
As much as you might go, yeah, he's always hurt, let's trade him. Yeah, the team acquiring him might be afraid of that too.
Yeah, and I mean, when he's played, he's been successful, but how will he be, in a different system where there's no Paolo?
Right.
That remains to be seen. How would he be without Jalen?
Right.
So
now, the first name that popped into my head, CV, don't know if they want to do it. Probably don't want to do it. But anything's possible. They tried something last year. It didn't work in Denver. And moving off Michael Porter Jr. It didn't work, frankly. Cam Johnson wasn't very good, and it kind of blew up in their face a little bit, in my opinion. Is Jamal Murray. To me, like, if you're looking for a lead guard, you're looking for shooting, just a bonus, championship experience. Again, would they do it? But I can tell you this, mathematically, it's a pretty simple formula. And again, there could be some variance in bodies involved here, but a Aaron Gordon, believe it or not, or Cam Johnson, but Gordon might make more sense financially for them. And Jamal Murray for Franz and Jalen swap adds up. Would that make the Magic more well-rounded? I think so. Are you giving up some maybe long-term, growth? Of course you are. But am I concerned about what the team looks like in 5 years or next year?
You got a championship caliber team now.
Mm-hmm.
The older you get,
and you've already maxed out contracts. Nobody's on that rookie deal anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's playing for pennies on the dollar at this point.
So just for context, Jamal Murray's he'll
be 29 next season, yes.
Yeah.
3 years.
He just turned 29.
Right. Well,
so
by next season, I mean, yes, he'll be 29 all of next season because his birthday just happened. 3 years, 110 left on that deal. Just floating it out there. Don't know if they want to do it, but Denver, another disappointing finish to their season. they're thinking the same thing with their star in Joker. He's the only untouchable there.
Yep.
I'm just throwing that out there. The other names, I'll just put them out there in the breeze. Devin Booker, although Matt Ishbia has said we're not moving Devin Booker, but a Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, similar swap would work, mathematically speaking. He's 30 next season, but not the lead guard that Murray is, but certainly a lead guard who can do some stuff for you and help the scoring on the team. Darius Garland, if the Clippers feel like, hey, let's continue to get out of this experiment. And Emmanuel Quickley is the one that I thought generated quite a bit of buzz back and forth about. And he got hurt, right? The end of last year, didn't even get to play in Toronto's series as they were eliminated. But brings more offense to the table. All these guys are 38+% from three, right? Not the defender, and not the defender, clearly, of Jalen Suggs. So you're giving up defense for offense in a swap like that.
So I did a trade in the trade machine.
Yeah.
Again, I've talked to you. I'm not too good at putting these together.
And they're more complicated than ever if you have ever messed with the trade machines.
And this guy's never played 70 games in a season.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it doesn't work in the sense that you're kind of maybe getting a guy who doesn't play in the same way that Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner don't play a lot. But what about Larry Markkinen? 35% from three.
Franz?
So it'd be Jalen Suggs, and I had to throw in another player just because I think he might be he's on his way out regardless, whether it's trade or they're going to waive him.
Jonathan
Isaac.
Oh, Isaac, yes. Yeah. Isaac is an interesting one because of his deal. Like, you might be able to move off the deal because the team will just opt out of the deal and save themselves some money.
Jalen Suggs and J.I. for Larry Markkinen.
Well, I don't know how you would play. This is just my instant. How do you play Franz, Paolo, and Markkinen?
Shooter. Well, you got two shooters essentially. Markkinen's 35% from three.
I'm saying they all play the same. I don't think you can play all three in the same lineup.
That would be for them to figure out.
They're all 3-4. They're wings.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all big wings, but they're all wings. So that would be maybe another team gets involved in something like that. My first thought was lead guard. That was where my first thought was. You can throw your thoughts as well. And the other two, again, complete wild cards were Drew Holiday and John Morant. John Morant's a road I don't think this team will travel, but if you want to buy low, I mean, you're not going to get much lower than where Memphis is right now with Ja at this point. And Drew is much, much older. That would be unique. But, look what he did. What he did in Portland. Some guys just win, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some guys just know the formula and recipe for winning. And wherever they go, teams find wins. Which expansion is worst? College basketball expansion or college football expansion? Which tournament expansion bothers you more? 50857. We'll discuss it next year on the Beat of Sports.
Ready for more sports talk? Of course you are. In for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
Coming up on 10:30, Cam Miller on his way in the next segment, as I know there was some draft recap last week with Cam, but I'm going to do a little bit more of the same. I will promise to ask different questions this time around, though, of Cam when he joins us next. And obviously there's a college football story out there as well I want to get his thoughts on. Mike Tuck, Chris Vasquez, Marc Daniels traveling with UCF baseball here today. Expansion, whether we want it to or not, is going to happen. The degree in which it happens, at least in football, appears to still be up for debate. But the College Football Coaches of America have spoken, and they would be in favor of a 24-team college football playoff up from the 12 that it sits at today. Doesn't mean anything. They're just expressing their opinion on things like when the season should start and when the season should end, which I think most rational college football fans and minds would tend to agree with, at least those ideas on paper. College basketball is nearing the paint, so to speak, in extending the NCAA tournament to 76 teams starting next season. It's in the final phases of that passing. Which expansion, and I struggled with how to phrase this because it could be neither, right? That's an option here. Which one bothers you more, though? Which one's the worst? Going to 76 in college hoops?
Both are terrible.
Or going to 24 in college football?
Both are terrible.
All right, which one's worse? Because I knew how Chris was going to handle
Both are terrible.
No, but I want you to order them.
I would say college basketball is worse.
Which would bother you more?
College basketball, because essentially we're adding, 12 more teams? The only way we're adding these teams is by adding more playing games, correct?
Correct.
So we're still going to have the 1-16 matchup.
Correct.
Just a different
We'll have teams fighting all the 16 seeds, or if you will, the 15 and 16s fighting to be 16s to play the 1 seeds, because that's what it will end up being. Is it'll basically be 15s against 16s to become the 16 to play the 1.
So we're adding playing games that, I mean, let's be honest.
And all the teams that are 12s and 11s fighting each other to.
How many people watch the playing games?
I have to look up the television numbers to answer that for you. I've always, since they've introduced it at 68, if I'm home, I will watch the 16s play the 16s. I had soccer practice coaching my kids' team like Wednesday last month. And so I missed the entire first half and then a little bit more even of the 16 matchup on Wednesday. Didn't care, whatever. Honestly, is how I felt about it.
Honestly,
I'm curious about the next game because it's 2 programs playing each other, but
honestly, I don't think anybody outside of the 2 schools really care about the playing games, because then what's the expectation is that they're going to get demolished by the 1 seed
for the lower seeded teams. Yes.
So
100%.
What's the point of the expansion?
We've seen the 11s and 12s actually get out in advance.
More so, yes.
I mean, Texas just did it this past year.
What is the point of the expansion for college basketball?
What is the point? Money. First and foremost, as it always is, as it is for both, by the way. It's the answer to both questions.
Of course. But is money that much more significant by adding a few more playing games? Is it that much more significant that you had to expand the field?
I think that is not the only answer to that. And I don't know what the financial number is, nor do I care, because I'm not CBS and I'm not, the NCAA and I'm not Turner. It doesn't matter to me.
True TV.
True. Well, that's why I said Turner, in capturing them all. So that part's not relevant. The other part would be, although I chuckle at it, in theory, it allows for coaches to add on to their byline NCAA tournament appearance and or victories, etc.
So a participation trophy is what we're doing now. That's what we're doing.
Well, for them, it's
a participation trophy.
It's potentially protecting their job status. Although I chuckle at the idea because it's not going to save you if expectation isn't just to be there and even at some point not advance far enough. I mean, Hubert Davis is out of a job at North Carolina not because he didn't make the NCAA tournament, because he didn't win enough there. He even got to a Final Four his first year. Championship night his first year.
Coach John Doe made the NCAA tournament 4 years in a row at School X.
Does it bother you more that we are going to see fringe 500 teams in the NCAA tournament, or the possibility of seeing a 4-loss team in a college football playoff, an 8-4 team?
So that was where I was going to go next. Asking you is just looking at the top 24 from last year. Those top 24 teams aren't going to be the ones that make the college football playoff, because we're not going to have North Texas in there, are we?
I mean, we could.
Are we going to have James Madison make the college football playoff?
Well, they just made it, yeah.
Are we going to have...
They literally just made it. Them and Tulane just literally made it.
Are we going to have Navy make the college football playoff?
If it's up to the committee and where they rank them, Chris. Like, it's not up to me.
The whole point of this is trying to get more SEC and Big Ten and Power 4 schools.
But like last year, if you're just going based on what the committee's rankings were, we would have gotten 2 G5 schools in last year. We got it in 12. We would get it in 24 for sure.
They probably would do their best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Look, it's gonna be more challenging than you think. Now, granted, you're talking about eliminating maybe an 8-4 Big Ten team like Iowa versus.
By the way, they were 17th. Yeah, 17th in the country
after they won. Though you're looking at the wrong poll. Go the week before. You got to go before the actual playoff games and bowl games were played, if you're going to evaluate that. We'll come back and we'll look at this a little bit more.
They were 23rd.
Right. I knew that because I had already looked at it and knew that they were the only 4-loss team. The last 2 years, only one 4-loss team actually would have been in the playoff. It would have been a bunch of 9-3 teams. So I'll just say quickly, as much as I would not necessarily want to go to 24, that wouldn't be my first choice. I don't necessarily find it appalling that we'd have an 8-4, or as I pointed out, mostly 9-3 and 10-2 teams as part of the playoff. You're actually a good team if you're 9-3. I don't know how we would. We're not evaluating it the correct way. Maybe you're not a title contender. There is a difference there, but it's not like we're putting bad teams in the college football playoff if you went 9-3 during the season. We'll come back and address it more. I want to make sure we have plenty of time here for Cam Miller coming up next. So to me, I'm probably more bothered by 76 because I already feel like we've already tapped out. There's really no need to go any further. It's got to happen whether I want to or not. And, it is what it is there. But 24, I think I'd be open to hear it because it's not nearly as bad as I think you would think it is on the surface.
So actually, can we do this? Let's talk to everyone during the break.
Okay.
We call it the show within the show.
I haven't done the show within the show.
Well, I'll take you down.
All right.
So we'll do a show within the show.
All right.
We got Cam Miller coming up next. If you're on the stream, get over there now. Or if you're on the stream, stay there. If you're not on, hop over there now. Tuck and I will discuss further the expansion of both college basketball and college football playoffs.
And next. Cam Miller will talk college football into the NFL draft and his thoughts on college football expansion playoff as well next.
All right, Tuck, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So another thing with this college football playoff expansion is they would essentially eliminate conference championship games, right?
Yes.
And I've seen, I forget who brought it up on Twitter, but is that going to make rivalry games at the end of the season kind of obsolete, like Michigan, Ohio State? Are these games going to become a little bit more obsolete?
No, I think what would have made them obsolete, and it hasn't happened yet, is if we had Michigan, Ohio State play, and then the very next week they played in the Big Ten title game. That's what would really hurt it. We haven't seen that play out yet. At some point, it could play out in the future. It hasn't played out yet. Same thing like Auburn and Alabama. If they were to play, and it would have happened like in the kick six, like if they had played in the regular season and we didn't have divisions, they could have played the next week for the SEC championship game. I think that would hurt it. I don't think the elimination of the conference title games, and they're enjoyable. It's a great matchup, Indiana, Ohio State, but they're not really necessary. Both teams are going to the playoff. All it's doing is determining your seeding.
So that's where I'm getting at is if both teams, Michigan, Ohio State, if they're making the college football playoff, what's to stop them from benching everybody in these games?
Because
to prevent injury, because that's what we do now is we want to prevent injury.
I'm not saying that you couldn't rest a guy who was already dealing with an injury. I think that would be a consideration for any team, but I don't think you would intentionally look at losing a game. Like Ryan Day almost got fired because he's going to beat Michigan, right? So you're not going to, hey, Jeremiah Smith has a nagging ankle injury, we're not going to play him. I don't think it would go necessarily that, or we're just not going to play him because we're already in the tournament. Because if you go to 24, you're looking at 8 teams getting by. So chances are, unless both teams are undefeated, you're not going to want to run the risk of taking on another loss and not getting the bye. So I do think that factors in that you're not going to just see guys sit at the end of the regular season. Injured guys might. Injured guys, you're not going to rush back.
It just seems like especially once you get out of conference, you're scheduling cupcakes, you're scheduling lower end P4 schools because all you want to do is win. You don't care who you play. You just want the win.
Well, I think that's where, again, if the committee said they were going to do this last year, right? And we can debate whether they did it to the fullest extent, what they should do. But we should be, if the committee is going to really look at strength of schedule and really want to have regular season games that get people amped, right? We want Miami to play Notre Dame this upcoming year. We want Texas to play Ohio State. We do. As fans, we all want that. Well, we have to reward the loser in that. And that doesn't mean, hey, it's okay to lose. It just means, hey, that loss doesn't have as much significance as another loss within your conference because you could have just played Sisters of the Poor and just put a win in the win column. So your 9-3 is actually better than someone else's 10-2. Like, that's the way we should be treating games like that. If Ohio State goes on the road and loses to Texas, that shouldn't be a black mark on their resume if Texas goes 11-1. It should be, hey, they went out there and they did it. The same way Notre Dame, like this past year, it's like Notre Dame went to Miami. They didn't have to do that. They could have played, a small school, Toledo, and got a win there.
But you're going to have especially the SEC. Oh, well, if we're playing 9 conference games, we're the best conference in college football. Why would we go out and play a Big Ten, like an upper echelon Big Ten school?
We're looking at, I just gave you the negative. The positive is if you go out and win that game, if you're Miami, what got Miami into this playoff? The fact they beat Notre Dame. If they had played, in the year before, they were 10-2, by the way. Same scenario. Didn't play Notre Dame, right? They played whoever they played out of conference. It didn't help them. That win can help you. It pushes your 9-3 over the top. Now your 9-3 has value because one of those wins is that big out of conference game against the playoff team.
But that's an ACC school. It's different with the SEC.
No, I think it's the same thing. I'm giving you that example because that's the one. If it becomes Texas this year, right, and Texas is able to beat Ohio State and they go 9-3 like they did last year, they should be in. That's a big win for them.
And I got to call Cam here. I'd be willing to bet that the committee would put in a 10-2 Texas team. They'd rank them higher than, say, even an undefeated ACC school.
Undefeated's probably stretching it too far. One loss, maybe, though, especially if you not only went 10-2 in your conference, but if you played Ohio State out of conference and won that one, yeah. If we look at you and we think you're that good, but you lost how you lost your other games matter. Like if you lose 2 close games in conference on the road or something like that, that matters in that part of it as well. But to me, 24, probably not nearly as bad as we're making it look like or sound like on the surface.
I got to call Cam.
This segment is presented by Bowegan's Beer Company. Love data? Love analytics? Let's take a deeper dive into both as we talk to Cam Mellor.
What you know is very limited, and what you don't know is limitless.
The Chief Analytics and Data Officer at Pro Football Network. You can follow Cam on X or Twitter at Cam Mellor.
Marc Daniels traveling with UCF Baseball today, so it's me, Mike Tuck, in for him. Cam Mellor joins us now. Cam, I promise we're going to tap into the NFL draft just a little bit more because I didn't get a chance to do that with you. But I do want to start with a story from the college football coaches in regards to what they would desire the postseason to look at with 24 teams. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here, but I'll start with what are the obvious disadvantages or dislikes about going to 24 teams?
It's, as a college football purist myself, it mitigates it. It undermines what the regular season would be. I think I saw the biggest comment from that is that, Ohio State and Michigan could go to the game and be Thanksgiving weekend and both be sitting at 11-0 and know that they can rest all their starters for once a storied rivalry game. Not saying they would do this, but it does undermine it, lessens the impact of what a game would be. Any game would be a rivalry game such as that, but any regular season game is sort of, you don't have the value, you don't have the importance. And so for a regular season that was once so sacred, going to 24 teams for the majority of the Blue Bloods or the P4 teams, it essentially makes these 12 regular season games significantly less meaningful. And I think that's the biggest downfall.
Do you really believe that Ryan Day and Michigan now, I was going to say Harbaugh, but it's they would actually rest their starters, like rest all their starters as you phrased it?
Yeah, no, I don't think that they would, but I do definitely think that there's so maybe then you also, we've already noticed maybe a lack of excitement for the conference championship games as well. I think you get a lack of conference of excitement for those games, and you get a lack of, the games that were once storied rivalry games and these tail ends or that Thanksgiving Day weekend, they definitely lack excitement, so to speak. I don't think anybody's resting their games, and these college football players aren't going to rest themselves either. They only have 12 games a year, most likely, for the most part, for their job interview for the NFL. But it does. It lessens what the regular season would be.
I hear you. Were you not excited last year for Indiana and Ohio State?
No, it was great. It was fun. I'm a diehard though, and I would watch Hawaii play the Tokyo football team as well. So I'm different, but I do speak for the layperson, the casual that would come in on the Saturday. They're not going to care as much as they know full well that this team's making the playoffs no matter what happens here.
I just won't go there with that for the same reason. Like we started out with, I guess it ended up being 1 versus 3, right, with Texas and Ohio State last year. And on the surface, we thought, well, these are both playoff teams. It didn't make the game not matter. We were all hyped and excited about the game and looked forward to the game and playing the game. Let me branch to, before I ask you the positive side of this, let me branch to championship weekend, which the coaches would be okay eliminating. It seems like a lot of those that are in charge would be okay eliminating. How would you feel if we eliminated in the SEC championship, Big 12 championship, et cetera?
Yeah, to me, I think it sounds so maybe asinine is not quite the word for it, but it sounds so backwards in the sense that, yeah, if you do make it a true regular season title, you have to win. That alleviates the concerns for potentially taking it easy, lightening up, not winning the proverbial brownie points from the committee to have a better seeding. If you don't have that, if you have a regular season. I mean, that goes back to the days where we didn't have those championship games as well.
Right.
Early 90s before we had all those games.
Yeah.
And you won the outright conference. Yeah. I mean, that to me, that makes sense. I think that solves the issue as well because, yeah, 11-0, Michigan versus Ohio State, winner wins the big, it becomes, I know probably a little bit backwards from what I said earlier, but I think that solves the issue of mitigating or undermining what the regular season would be.
It's okay. I'm just pulling you over to my side a little bit with that one.
I'm with you.
All right. So put on again, you're in the room discussing this with everybody. What are the potential positives of going to 24 teams?
The easiest one to me and probably why they're all interested is that it's a bigger slice of pie, or there's more teams get a slice of the pie. And that's, let's face it, money is what's going to drive this sport here as we go forward. And so if you can get some ad revenue, some TV revenue, and some, added benefits, if you're the Big 12, you can get a third team in or a fourth team in. If you're the ACC and you can actually get more than one team in, that makes more sense for you.
That's the sports side of it, though, right? What about the fan? What does the fan get out of 24?
Tough, because I'll go back to the casual. I have meaning among the many group texts that I have, the casual fans in some of those, they won't care about that opening round. They'll say, why am I watching this if this team's is so much better than this team? If we have, depending on how it settles, if it's 1 versus 24, or if it's, 9 versus 24, wherever it is, 9 should hypothetically cruise past 24. You're going to get the argument. So I'm curious. That I think is probably the biggest aspect, is that I don't know if you're going to get many more eyeballs on those opening round games like you do for college basketball. I think that that's probably the biggest discrepancy, is that maybe they want the opening round of college basketball success, when I think college football, the talent gap is too big.
See, I would say you can't tell me that if you're, I'll just pick Michigan as an example, a team that was a team that was in the mix, but not in the mix to make last year's playoff, but in a 24 team playoff would be in the mix. So would you rather play a game, let's say at Oklahoma in a playoff game? Would you be more excited as a Michigan fan, or playing here in Orlando at the Citrus Bowl? Like what appeals to you more? Yeah, I mean, the fan bases are absolutely going to want to play at Norman in a playoff game, a meaningful act. I mean, it ends. It's tough, right? It's the college football purist in me, and the college football purist is probably millions of people that would say, I love this Citrus Bowl. I've been the Champ Sports Bowl at one point. I loved the game. I mean, we're talking old school OG Orlando games there too. And that's around the country. And so bowl season ends essentially, things would have to change the sport. And yes, I mean, maybe that's the way with the times. So I get it. If I'm Michigan fans, I want to watch us go to Norman, play Oklahoma in a meaningful game, than playing, at the Citrus Bowl. Okay. All right. I just wanted to lay that out there. The NFL draft. Now, I know Mark asked you about Carnell Tate, and maybe there's some surprise. I don't know if there's stunning surprise. Most people thought he was going to go in the top 10, so 4 is just even a little bit higher than maybe expectation. But Malik Neighbors' reaction to it, I sort of laughed at in some way, because like his teammate Brian Thomas Jr.'s rookie year looked like a number 1, and certainly Justin Jefferson, who was number 2 in LSU to Jamar Chase, became a number 1. So I sort of scoff at the idea that maybe a generational wide receiver is ahead of him on the depth chart as far as like the pecking order is concerned. That's going to limit Carnell Tate's ceiling. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think what he was able to do, Carnell Tate was able to do this past season, shows who he can be, and that's the alpha in the room. And so I don't think that there's any sort of limiting what he's able to pull off, what he's able to do. He gives Cam Ward the top threat that he needs, the lid lifter, so to speak, that is the deep threat. I don't think he was able to show it as much because they didn't need him to at Ohio State, but let's face it, he made Jeremiah Smith, who likely could be the actual term generational talent, almost an afterthought in that offense at Ohio State this past season. And I think that's what he's able to do. That's what he's able to pull forth in a receiving core. And I think, I kind of likened Jordan Tyson to today's NFL as my top receiver on the board, but I understand Carnell Tate's got the deep speed, the above the rim ability, and a full route tree that he can win at all 3 levels. And so, no, I think that he's an absolute alpha, and I think any criticism should be quieted here come September. Yeah, it's up to him, obviously, to live up to the hype now when he gets out there and plays. Cam Mellor joining us now, talking some college football, NFL draft, still some recap here. Not entirely a surprise if you read the tea leaves ahead of the draft that drafting based on position value was a little bit out the window, at least this year, because of the talent level. And I thought we saw that even in particular with interior offensive line, where a lot of those guys went maybe earlier than you would expect them to go, but the teams were drafting who they felt like was going to be most valuable to them. How does that sit with you for some of these teams that took maybe a player that doesn't traditionally get drafted as high based on their position?
Yeah, it's not sexy, and I think that's probably the fan base. Like the Baltimore Ravens probably wanted Kenyon Sadiq because they're still harsh in the reality of Marc Andrews dropping the ball and their season ending that way, and they want a tight end and flashy tight end who can run a 4.3 or 4.4. But let's face it, Lamar Jackson has been running for his life from the interior pressure, and so when they get UNA at 14, it makes so much sense. And so yeah, this was a throw the positional value out draft because of how weird this was. I was surprised a little bit, maybe Keelan Rutledge sneaking in the round one, but I completely understand it.
Yeah.
It's almost like a vanity pick that is a need. And so, yeah, the way the board fell, this interior class, I mean, Francis Maianoa also being labeled and listed as a guard, I think that shows you where we were at with that guard class or interior lineman class. And it just continues to show, I think, draft pundits and analysts ahead of the NFL draft, they always undervalue where these interior offensive linemen are going to go, but it's vital. I mean, it's one of 5 starters on the offensive line. It makes sense.
Right. I mean, and if you're like Houston, as the example you mentioned there with Rutledge, if he's like your, number 2 guard, let's say, on the board, and there's no chance he's going to make it to you're a playoff team already, and you feel like that's a hole, why wouldn't you address it?
It made a whole bunch of sense. Like on the surface, I think when it happened, we're like, wow, Keelan Rutledge. I think it was more just because maybe A&M's Chase Basantis was also still on the board, maybe, and we had him a little bit higher. But the Texans got their view with him at the Senior Bowl, live and in person.
Sure.
And that's what they saw. So I get it. Rutledge is a baller. I mean, a mean dude at that. So I don't hate the pick anymore. But yeah, a little surprising in the moment. But it's sort of, you're a playoff team.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Let's keep C.J. Stroud upright.
Yeah, we get a little bit addicted to mock drafts sometimes and the expectation that they're going to match up with the real thing. Jadarian Price, a luxury pick when you win a Super Bowl, a need as well. How do you feel about the Notre Dame running back landing in the first round?
He had the embarrassment of riches that Marcus Freeman had. I think if you look at it, 2 first-round running backs in his backfield this past season, why they should have maybe relied on that a little bit more instead of a freshman quarterback. But yeah, I'm not anyone to criticize Mike McDonald and what they've been able to do through the draft. In Seattle, clearly winning the Super Bowl with their draft strategy. A little bit maybe of a head scratcher in the sense, but yeah, like you said, vanity pick, Super Bowl, this is the luxury you're able to pull off, but they also, the running back league, this is running back era that we're in the NFL, you need 2, maybe even 3 to get through 18 weeks, 17 games of regular season, and then especially into the playoffs. They saw it happen to them, and somehow they still managed to overcome it, but it must have been a bigger need for them than maybe we all wanted to agree for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I love what Price brings to the table for them.
I mean, it's a decent chance we won't see Zach Charbonnet back until after Thanksgiving based on when he tore his ACL. So I like Emmanuel Wilson, but I get it. I understand why they did it. This is near and dear to Chris Vasquez's heart. But I ask it from your perspective as well and how closely you follow this. What role do you think, and even maybe in contrast to previous years, did postseason, like Senior Bowl and Combine, play into where some of these guys were selected?
I think this year specifically, after maybe the top 20 rated prospects on everybody's board, I think there was a lot that went into maybe not quite the Combine, but I think the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, and even some of these other top 30 overalls. I mean, if you look at some of the numbers of the Senior Bowl, I mean, credit to them for putting out these numbers, what they did, like raising their status. You have to go with where the consensus was on these players before the Senior Bowl. But what, $86 million or something like that in earned value from the Senior Bowl. So
yeah,
take that with a bit of a grain of salt. But like players, what was it? I think the big one. I'm going to blank on the name at this point. TJ Parker. He was largely seen as a day 3 type of guy, a flyer, but early 35th overall. Like could have been that flyer in round 1. Keelan Rutledge, the same thing. So right. I think that this year specifically, it was a huge deal for them to get in front of these guys and see them put forth what they did.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we can downplay it, it's a chance to see guys that are on sort of a level playing field compete against each other in practice, more so than the game. Just see them, how they match up and how they look against each other to give you sort of a visual of, oh, okay, that's what it looks like when they're not in their own environment. They're not on their own team with plays getting run for them. I thought it showed up big. I'm glad you see it that way as well. Who was the pick day 2 or day 3, a guy that you love that ended up in the place that you think they're going to be able to flourish?
Yeah. There's probably 2 of them, and I think they go back to back if memory serves, actually. I loved the pick of Takaro Davis, the cornerback from Washington, landing with the Bengals.
Big kid.
The need there for him is huge. I mean, if you watch him, I swear you see any still image from Getty Images or Imogen USA Today, and it looks like the dude's arms are down to his calf,
Right.
and he's just standing there. Dude,
Richard Sherman, as far
long.
as length. Yeah.
Unbelievably. I love his ability. But then just before him, actually, was Antonio Williams, the wide receiver for Clemson. I think he flew under the radar because of the discrepancy or the lack of talent and lack of pass offense that they had.
Yeah.
And so for the Commanders to get him next to Terry McLaurin, what they're able to do, I think that was the team. I mean, they're a game away they're only a year removed from being a game away from the championship. And so I think that's a pick for him to be able to slide and be one of those wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 candidates where he develops a great rapport with Chase Daniel.
All right, now let's reverse it real quick before I let you go. Who is the guy that you loved and you thought, damn it, when a certain team selected him because you feel like he's going to be blocked or may not get maybe the coaching you would like for him to have?
I'm going to go with both wide receivers that were drafted to the Cleveland Browns. I love Casey Concepcion.
Me too. Yeah.
I love Denzel Boston. And I just feel so bad for both of them because I don't care who you are. There's no way that's going to be a passing attack that you're going to want to look at and say, this is a good passing attack to be into. Maybe. So this is like a play for 2027.
Yes.
Hope for them for 2027. Yes. But yeah, I hated the latest for him.
Yeah. If you're drafting a dynasty, you're probably not, projecting a whole lot this year, but you never know. Maybe the Browns draft somebody next year and it looks a whole lot better on paper. Cam, it's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate you taking the time and catching up with us here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me as always.
Yep. Cam Mellor. Great stuff. Great stuff. I do think the Senior Bowl, maybe more so than I know you get upset about like the combine, but that actually, if I had nothing to do with my life, I would probably spend even more time watching it. But the NFL Network broadcasting the practices and even getting to see like, oh, wow, this guy is supposed to be like a late first rounder or second rounder versus this guy is like, and it's like, I don't know. You start to go, I don't know if I see a whole lot of difference there.
Well, and this is why the scouts, I don't know how much they make, but I'm assuming they get paid pretty well to be able to see and spot the difference between, oh man, this guy's having a great day here at the senior practice compared to where he was kind of maybe meh during the regular season. So,
and you wonder, is it scheme? Were there injury? I mean, there's all kinds of little things that can then play a role in stuff like that. And you read a lot. I mean, I read way more than most, obviously, but you read a lot of, yes, it made us go back and reevaluate, like when you see somebody that either disappoints you or surprises you in a good way to, hey, let's take a second look at that. So I think as much as maybe it's not a big TV event or anything like that, it does matter a lot for these guys. And it can matter a lot for the prospects as well to prove themselves.
And for what it's worth, my guy, the UTSA kicker who kicked a 70-yarder who ran the 4.47, did not get drafted and still not even signed yet.
He hasn't even signed.
Nope.
That's interesting. I don't know that the 4.47 matters a whole lot for a kicker, but
again, I think he only attempted one kick at UTSA.
Yeah.
He kicked in D2 a couple field goals.
Yeah.
But he never kicked D1.
You wonder if he'll get a tryout somewhere. Kickers, they can find you anywhere.
And I get it. You want to see if he can kick in actual game time situations.
Right.
But I mean, we've seen guys get taken a chance on for having a big leg.
Of course.
And the fact that you can drill a 70-yarder.
It's hard to reserve a spot for a kickoff specialist, especially now that we're not even worried about booming into the end zone anymore. Right. It's more about, hey, can you place it? But yeah, like most teams employ 2 kickers in the summer. So yeah, a little bit of a surprise. I wasn't following that. To know that he hasn't even signed anywhere is interesting. Yeah, maybe he'll find an opportunity at some point. The news is next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes. Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock, WYGM Orlando, WJRR HC2 Cocoa Beach, FM 96.9 The Game, and AM 740 Orlando sports leader. Mike Tuck in for the traveling Marc Daniels. Chris Vasquez here as well. The Knights will take on Baylor in baseball starting tomorrow. Mark is out today and tomorrow. So look forward to tomorrow's show with you guys as well. In the news today, Jimmy Haslam, the co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, says that it's not a guarantee. This is yesterday at Taylor Jenkins' introductory press conference. Not a guarantee that Giannis will be with the team next year. Possible. Possible to trade him, but he did say they would like to resolve that before the draft or at the draft, indicating that obviously draft picks would play a part there. As part of my prep, actually, I kid you not, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, before the NBA playoffs even started, I was putting together like, hey, what would a Giannis trade look like for the Magic if they move Paolo, and then even like weighing like young potential superstar for older guy. Like, I don't even know how the NBA evaluators would look at that, right? Is it possible like one that Paolo has a little bit more value, even though he's not the same player because of age and circumstance? But it sounds like just those words and draft picks makes me feel as though the Magic have already been ruled out.
I honestly don't think it would make sense for the Magic. And of course, do your due diligence, but it wouldn't make sense to trade for a guy who's in basketball age, older, and you really don't have a guarantee that he's going to stay past what his current deal is. Which is what? He's got one more year left?
He's a pretty loyal cat, though. Like, he has been very much kind of like, now he won a title, but he's been very much kind of like Kevin Garnett was in Minnesota.
Yeah, but he's got no ties to Orlando. He's got ties to Milwaukee because they drafted him.
Oh, I know.
He's got no ties to Orlando.
I understand. I'm just saying, though, he doesn't strike me as James Harden. The minute things don't go his way, he's going to demand out of there. Like, that's not the kind of person we're dealing with here. He's also gone out of his way to point out he has no interest in, like, L.A. and fake people or however he put it. Like, so I don't think that would deter him coming to Orlando as, hey, it's not a big enough city for me kind of thing. It would be an interesting fit. Like, mathematically, they could do it. Like, it's not all that complicated to do a trade, but would they be more interested in a Franz or Apollo, a young, really good, maybe budding star versus draft picks? It just based on that quote alone makes me feel like the picks and the Magic already spent all their picks, so there's nothing to even offer. And if they had a couple of picks, then yeah, I mean, I think they could be in that discussion. But that was my first thought. That was very interesting how he phrased that. Is if we do something, it'll be
just kind of walking down the Giannis to Orlando path.
Yeah.
Say they end up trading, for the sake of the argument, Paolo.
Mm-hmm.
How would Franz and Giannis play together?
It would probably be like I thought about this. I actually gave too much thought to this. Like if they move right, you'd rather keep Paolo probably if you're Orlando. But then it's like, all right, they're both basically the starting four. But the more I thought about it, if you just look at the teams that are playing in the East as an example, like you worry about matchups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Probably on the defensive end as much as anything for something like that. All right. Really, like it's the difference between Mikal Bridges or Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, however you want to line that up against the Knicks. That's almost irrelevant. Difference between him guarding Evan Mobley versus him guarding Max Strus. I don't know. That's pretty irrelevant too, in my opinion. Like you start looking at even Detroit, like the difference between Tobias Harris and Asor Thompson. Like I don't know that it matters. Like positionally speaking, like on the floor, it doesn't cure your biggest illness, which is shooting. But I mean, and I said this back when they won the title. Like there's already an argument to be made that Giannis is the second greatest power forward to ever play the game. On paper and just watching him play, like that argument behind Tim Duncan, you can make an argument. He passed Karl Malone when he won the championship. MVPs. He's actually got a title. He carried a team to the title. Like there's some arguments. So you never want to just, like you said, walk away. You have to listen. You have to do your due diligence. He's too good not to. But there are injury concerns. There is age. I'm less concerned about what you brought up first. That would probably be like third or fourth down the list of of things I'd be worried about, but you'd have to at least like consider it.
Yeah, always take the call.
Yeah, you always have or even
Always
make
have
the
the
call.
always have the conversation.
See where they're at with it. Last night in the NBA, the Knicks did win. I mentioned OG Anunoby. He is now, I guess you could term it questionable. We'll wait and see on what his health status is. He suffered a leg injury. It's believed to be a hamstring, on what his status could be for their game 3 as that series shifts back to Philadelphia. Knicks lead 2-0. Late last night, it was a demolition derby, 38 points as San Antonio bounced back and destroyed Minnesota to even that series up at 1 game apiece. 2 games in the NBA playoffs again tonight. It will be Cleveland and Detroit playing in game 2 with the Pistons leading 1-0 there on Prime. In case you're wondering, like me, every damn day, what channel is this game on? I have to look with the new partners and everything. You don't know what's what, any day of the week, especially now in the playoffs. And the Lakers and Thunder will play game 2 of their series at 9:30 tonight, with Oklahoma City leading that 1-0.
Did you see the latest with your Miami Hurricanes football?
You want to tell me?
We got a schedule. A
Schedule
game
drop?
set. We got Miami, Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, November 9th?
November 7th. 7:30.
Oh, they said, I don't know if the time was set. I knew it was in November.
Yeah, November
saw
7th.
that, yes.
They just announced the time,
Okay.
7:30.
That's
going to be on NBC and Peacock.
Okay. Cool. Look forward to it.
There you go.
Last year it obviously started off the season. If nothing else, we don't have to argue about what happened 3 months ago and the relevance of it. It'll be relevant later in the season as to, and honestly, on paper, they both look like they're going to be playoff teams going into this year. So it may just be, as Chris is worried about, becoming irrelevant because they both might already be playoff teams. I hardly think that'll be the case. I think Miami Notre Dame fans will be pretty excited for the game.
Well, it's not the final game of the season.
I know.
Then you don't worry about
but
resting
if they're
your
both
starters.
If they're both 8-0,
So you're really gonna there's too
no,
much.
no,
too
they're
much
not. Of course, they're not going to rest starter. I'm just making the point. Like, we'll still be excited about it.
Yes,
that was my whole argument with Cam, and it wasn't really an argument. Is like we weren't any less excited about like Texas, Ohio State, or Indiana, Ohio State. Like you could argue, yeah, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't. But we're still pumped to see 2 great teams play.
Well, Indiana, Ohio State, wasn't that for the Big Ten championship?
Yes.
Okay.
It was 1 versus 2.
Okay, so big. At least that was like a conference championship game.
By the way, that conversation was that week. Like people were like, oh, why wouldn't it, fill in the blank, either team just rest their guys. And you remember what happened like in the very beginning of that game? Mendoza got knocked out of the game for a few plays. Remember he might have been Caleb Downs. Someone hit him, killed him. And you're like, I know immediately, of course, it goes to what your line of thought was there is, oh, God, why were they even playing the Heisman Trophy winner in this game? It's not. Well,
that is not what. Let me clarify. It is not my line of thinking.
Okay.
That's not my line of thinking, but it is a major concern. Is it not?
I don't think it is.
I think it is.
I don't think it is. Well, thank you for that, Miami Notre Dame. Put it on your calendar. That should be one of the best non-conference games on the slate this year. Of course, Ohio State and Texas. I mentioned that. They'll play the rematch this time in Austin. That's at the beginning of the season, though, is when that one aligns. From baseball, Carlos Correa's season is over for the Houston Astros. Bummer for him, he's returned there, of course, and will not be available for the remainder of the calendar year. And anything else I wanted to bring up in the news? I don't think so. I think that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, I want to revisit. I wasn't going to do this, but we didn't really get to finish it. We did the, what do you call it? The
show within the show.
Show within the show. So if you got to be entertained by some of that, I do want to, and I'm not necessarily a proponent of 24. I guess I'm just giving the pitch for 24 beyond like coaches saving their jobs. I don't care about that as a fan. That's irrelevant to me. But there is another pitch I would throw out there where it's not nearly as bad as maybe we're making it seem on the surface. And I'll share that with you guys next.
Just because Marc Daniels isn't here doesn't mean there's no beat of sports. Filling in for Mark, here's Mike Talk.
I'll tell you what is always the trickiest thing, although I get the good fortune to be here tomorrow, right? That's on my end, that's very nice. I like doing it. Mark's nice enough to let me do it when he's traveling. But I tell the students all the time, and they ask about doing the radio stuff. I said it's actually much harder to just drop in for a day than it is to like do it an entire week. And by that I mean it's so much stuff I'm not going to get to today. Like it's like mathematically, it's not adding up.
Right.
It's a size 10 trying to squeeze into a size 2 right now. Like it's coming out the top. So tomorrow, like I'm going to have a little bit of a draft reaction for the Dolphins, the Bucks, the Jags. I just don't have time for it today.
Mm-hmm.
I want to discuss the lottery in the NBA. The lottery is this weekend, so tomorrow we'll do some of that as well. So I'm already letting you know all this stuff I've done is already getting pushed to tomorrow. Not because it's bad, but
such a weird time for the lottery, by the way.
It's the first time they've not done, like, usually it's Tuesday night, right? Like 8 o'clock, halftime of, or right before whatever the first, like, that's
why
I don't know why they did it Sunday at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday at 3 o'clock.
But
it's
why
fine, but
during the playoffs?
No, they always do it during the playoffs.
But I know, but why? It's weird, isn't it?
I mean, you could do it right away, but I don't think they want to steal the thunder from where the playoffs are. There's usually more downtime when you get past the first round. So they've always done it in the second round.
No, that's just weird.
It's like, as far as I can remember, I have to look up the last time they didn't do it then.
That's just weird to me.
That they do it in the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
When would you like them to do it? Like the day the year ends?
You can do it like after the NBA champion's crowned. You can do it if
I know, but we only have like a week between. That's like doing your draft order on the day of the draft for those that do fantasy football and stuff. Like, I hate that, by the way. Like, I want to know and prep for my spot.
I don't mind it.
Can you imagine dropping these guys on like draft night going, all right, here's our lottery. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, crap, we didn't interview AJ DeBonsa. Can you imagine that, though? That would be wild.
Let's get to that tomorrow. That'll be fun.
That would be wild. That would be something. So we were discussing, which you hate more, expanding the college basketball tournament to 76 teams, which is going to happen and might be in the final moments before it does happen, which just makes it exhausting, frankly, for me. I'm already watching basketball for 12 plus hours for 4 straight days. And then that's not even including Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't even know how television wise they would move there's going to be 12 games. So 6 on Tuesday, 6 on Wednesday. I don't know how they're going to do that. How they're going to handle that. Like that feels like they're going to have to run games during the day, clearly. So that's for another discussion because they'll do it and then they'll tell us how they're going to arrange it. I'm less offended by that, I guess, in some ways, although I don't think it's necessary, than this. And really, it's the 2 parts I'd highlight real quick, and you can continue with. We've had this conversation already in 50857. If you have thoughts on going to 24, as the college football coaches have put in their 2 cents, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's just what they would like to see play out. One, you look at the last 2 seasons, only one 4-loss team would have even been in the mix, and that would have been Iowa last year. It would have been a bunch of 9-3 teams. And at least where I'm from, I get you can be disappointed, but I think it's, hey, what you thought going in, expectations. Mark talks about journey versus destination. All that, it's journey. Like if you thought you were going to be battling for, somewhere in the bottom of your conference and suddenly you have an 8-4, 9-3 season. Arizona last year is a good example. I don't know. A lot of people thought coming off the year they had, they'd be 9-3 last year. So 9-3 is a success. I don't think anyone really, unless you're Alabama or Ohio State or in that ilk, Georgia, can look at 9-3 and go, ugh. Most college football fans, Florida and Florida State, I imagine 9-3 would have sounded pretty good last year. And so that's what we're talking about. Being a playoff team is 9-3. That's success to me. Maybe it isn't if you're a few programs, but that's success. And the other part of it is, why do we rank a top 25? Step away, college athletics, not just football, like all of it, rank a top 25. Why?
To determine playoff for
they've been doing it a long time. We weren't having playoffs
to determine top 64 to
25 doesn't add up to 64 though.
Well,
or 48 or any other variation of the NCAA tournament or tournaments, because I'm talking all sports, top 25s.
I don't know.
It's okay to say that.
Yeah.
One, it's engagement as much as anything. The AP poll existed back in 1936 when it was first created. It was a top 20. In fact, top 20 didn't become top 25 until much later along. It was in the 80s that it became a top 25, in part because they felt they were, quote unquote, disrespecting some good teams that weren't being included into the top 20 poll. So that's what I'm playing off of. So it says who is good. It's a good thing for networks to put ranked team versus ranked team, because then we go, oh, it's a good matchup, two good teams. So it's sort of, on my end of it, laughable if I'm defending 24 going, wait, we're not talking about putting bad teams into the mix here. We're talking about good teams. Are they title contenders? Like, was Arizona last year or Vanderbilt last year or Virginia last year going to win a national title? No. That's not even what I would be arguing here. But I don't think we can argue that they weren't good teams. They were in the top 25. Isn't that a nice thing? A lot of programs, i.e. UCF, and certainly Florida State right now, you would like to see a number next to your name next season, yes?
Right.
It would show that you're having a pretty good season, yes? Mm-hmm. So it's not as if, like, we're saying, hey, let's include some 6 and 6s in this, mother. Like, we're talking about teams that are 8-9 win teams that we'd be including in the discussion. I'm not necessarily thinking we need 24, but I'm not offended by the idea of 24, because all you're doing is saying, hey, instead of Michigan or Arizona, you guys playing in some bowl game, which you guys are opting out of, hey, why don't, hey, Michigan, why don't you go to Texas and play a game to advance in a playoff? You're telling me, this is where Cam and I sort of argued a little bit, is like, you're telling me that's not exciting? Even if you wanted to sell me on the general fan doesn't care, I don't buy that for 1 second, by the way. I think the fan bases that absolutely care about, hey, I'd much rather play a playoff game than fill in the blank bowl game.
Well, you look at if we were to have a 24-team bracket,
a
majority of the teams that are title contenders will be in the top, 6, 7, right?
Any given, Miami was 10th for what it's worth, but
okay, for the most part,
if we're just looking at and Ohio State was 8th, so
okay, but that's just based off that wasn't where they were ranked. That was just based on how the committee ranked them. Right.
Ohio State would have been a little higher. Boise State and Arizona State jump, but they were still like 6 or something.
My point is, your title contenders about top 6, top 7, correct?
Any given season, you're probably thinking in those that you think will win the championship. My argument, really quick, my argument counter to that would be, like, in these NBA playoffs, did anyone think the Magic were going to win an NBA title? Did anyone think
Okay, that's a completely different sport.
I understand, but I'm saying we put teams in playoffs all the times that we think have no chance to win a championship. Did you think the Houston Texans were winning in the title last year?
Okay, well,
did you think Carolina was winning a championship?
All right, let's look at college football. You want to talk about teams that, made the playoffs?
Yeah.
The NBA, there's a salary cap. The NFL, there's a salary cap. College football, you have teams spending $20, $30, $40 million, where other teams are spending $5 on a football roster. So again,
that's like Major League Baseball. It sounds what you're describing to me.
So that's on the owners who don't spend money.
I'm just saying, like, you want to bring money, like, in inequities to the table. It doesn't stop a team from advancing in the baseball playoffs.
You have about 6 or 7 teams that are going to be ranked at the top who have a legitimate chance to win the college football playoff. So your first round of games are essentially going to be, for the lack of a better word, a blowout, or games that
those teams, if you go 24, the top 8 would all have buys mathematically.
Okay. So you're looking at
9 would play 24, 10 would play 23, etc. That's what it would look like on paper.
So for a regular season game, fantastic.
Right.
Great.
What's wrong with
for a playoff game? No.
What's wrong with 23 at number 10 in this playoff? Like, if it was a regular season game, we'd be stoked. Why should we be any less excited if it's a playoff game?
So just can't really use this So
it'd be Iowa at Miami.
That excites you?
Yeah. It's a playoff game. It's a playoff game. And maybe it's the brands. Like, again, you can highlight if you want to. Like, you can use, like USC at Vandy or something like that, or USC at Texas, whatever the math would be on that. You're going to be more excited based on certain matchups, as we are, by the way, in any playoff, right? Where NBA subjects teams to NBA TV. It's like, oh, small market, we want them. Like, there's more matchups that we're excited about. That would be the same thing we'd be talking about here. The primetime slot or the best slot is going to be the game we care more about.
The way I see it is it's overexposure. It's overkill. It's games that we don't need. But the only reason that they're putting it on a 2014 playoff is for one reason and one reason only, and that's money.
Why are we playing the bowl games then?
You could make the argument to do away with the bowl games.
That's the argument.
Because you have teams opting out of bowl games anyway.
Argument I'm making. Like, it's the same. It'd be the same thing. Like, if you were to say what would be the median one there, like 15, 16, like Utah and USC. I'm just going to put that out there. If they were to play in a bowl game, why are we playing? They're not playing for a championship. You're trying to argue like, hey, they have no chance to win. Well, why are we playing the bowl game? They have no chance to win a championship.
Trust me, I think we have way too many bowl games.
Okay, but those would be teams that wouldn't fall under that category of way too many bowl games. If you're ranked 15th and 16th playing in a bowl game, right?
You probably
that's not the bowl game you're talking about.
Right.
You're talking about like the 6-6
Idaho
against
Potato Bowl.
Right. You're talking about the 7-5 versus 6-6 in a bowl game. Is what you're not what I'm just presenting in this scenario is what a playoff would look like, where it's a 9-3 versus a 9-3.
It'd be a fun random bowl game to watch. We don't need it as a playoff game.
Okay.
We don't.
I'm just saying it's not nearly
overkill.
It's not nearly as appalling as we're making it sound like. We're talking about all good quality teams, which, by the way, the winner that advances would absolutely have a chance. You're telling me like the 15th ranked team wouldn't have a chance to beat like number 3? Of course they would. In the regular season, we would think that all day long. It doesn't become impossible now because it's a playoff game.
Well, depends on the matchup. Because
of course it does.
If you talk to any SEC or Big Ten fan, no one's going to beat
the team that advances. Like, in theory, it's like, all right, they look really good. No different than the wild card round in the NFL playoffs. The team that wins, we talk about, wow, the momentum they got going against whoever, especially the old days when you had two teams that had buys. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. I am in the midst of a long draft for my Dynasty Football League. For those fantasy football fans that want to talk about these rookies, I got you. That's coming up next.
Ready for more sports talk? Of course you are. In for Marc Daniels, here's Mike Tuck.
Mark traveling with UCF Baseball. He'll be on the road tomorrow, but he will join us probably around 10 a.m. tomorrow, so you can set your clock to that. Probably a little bit before 10, actually, to be fair. Chris Vasquez here, Mike Tuck here the next 2 days. And so for me, again, as I said, dropping in, there's like so much stuff on the table, and a lot of it will table for tomorrow and going into the weekend. And that's not even including what's going to happen tonight that might come up for the discussion. But one thing I did want to bring to the table was stuff from the NFL draft. I'm such a big fan of the draft. So tomorrow I'll address Florida, the Florida team. So Miami, Tampa Bay, and Jacksonville, and some thoughts there on what they did. Today, a little bit, and this is, hits for a lot of you guys, even if you're not doing a dynasty league, which is essentially once you draft everybody, you just keep your team and you draft rookies the next year, and that's all you draft. It's the worst rookie crop I've seen since I've been doing it, and it's going on, I think, 8 years now that I've been doing dynasty. It really, not in a none of these guys are going to be good kind of way. It just, there's Jeremiah Love at the top, and there's no elite receivers. There's no other backs that are stepping in where it's like, yep, that's the guy. Or, Mendoza maybe is going to maybe step in as the starting quarterback. Even that's not assured right now. So it was Love, easy choice to top the board. And then after that, there's a lot of, hey, what's your perception on balancing what you think right away versus what you think long-term with some of these guys. And this because we've talked about this, last 2 weeks ago ahead of the draft. Like, to me, Carnell Tate's a pretty safe play. I don't know that his upside, it is enormous, but I think at the very worst, he becomes a very good receiver in the NFL, kind of like his Ohio State brethren, like Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. I don't see him failing, so I think he's a very safe player. And you have to like that he's going to get to play with a quarterback in Cam Ward, who is, in theory, on the rise, right? To me, that's a good thing. Casey Concepcion, I love him. And Cam Mellor brought this up with him and Denzel Boston going to Cleveland. You probably love him less this year because of that situation. But, if you're in a dynasty league, you don't really concern yourself with that because one of two things happens. And this is how, the NFL works, is either you get better or you get out. And so whether it's Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders or both this year, if neither one's good enough, they're going to find the next guy next year. That's pretty obvious. And it's probably more leaning that anyway. So to me, you just commit to what you like with something like that. If you like them, you like them. Jordan Tyson, it's interesting how many people, and I don't know where you sit, CV, with this, like, have jumped on the Tyler Shuck's really good bandwagon.
I've not jumped on that bandwagon. I do think the Saints benefit from playing in one of the easier divisions in football. I don't know. Maybe a second year under Kellen Moore will do him some good.
Yeah, think. To me, a lot of it was, wow, he's better than Spencer Rattler. And
then saying a lot.
And then we've jumped to, wow, he's really good. Like, hey, let's build around him. Look, he's older, obviously.
Yeah.
He's got talent, obviously. I don't know that he's going to be a top 20 NFL quarterback in his career. So, like, for those that are like, yeah, Jordan Tyson, because he gets to be with Tyler Shuck, I don't know that I feel that way.
Are we making the big deal about the Travis Achane signing and maybe the running game kind of takes some pressure off?
I love the commitment to Achane, by the way, because people are going to hear that and go, who's he talking about? Does he mean Devon? He's with the Dolphins. No, Etienne is now Achane. He says we're saying his name wrong. He's from Louisiana.
I'm trying to respect him.
Yeah, no, you should. But people that haven't heard that are just hearing that going, what's he talking about? So I thought I would dead stop on that one.
Okay.
No.
So maybe they're anticipating the run game, maybe taking some pressure off of Tyler Shuck, and maybe Chris Olave.
I guess Kamara's going to come back, at least what he said the other day.
Yeah, I don't know if he really gave a full-on 100% commitment to the Saints, but
he said he's going to retire if they get rid of him, though. So I guess he's coming back to be the receiving back there.
I guess, but I don't.
Which is good for Tyler Shuck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Alvin Kamara is, for a guy who's never rushed for 1,000 yards in his career, he's been a great back in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a very good modern-day NFL running back. Mm-hmm. Very much along the lines of a Roger Craig in a lot of ways. Was never like an elite runner as a running back, but was an elite player because of the offense he played in. And he's, of course, the first guy to ever go 1,000 in a season. After that, Jadarian Price, again, it's your appetite for running backs, and there's not many of them this year, right? So Seattle, he's stepping into Charbonnet being hurt. The assumption is he'll probably take the bull by the horns and go with it, and he might be good enough to do so. That Sharps comes back and plays that complementary role. By the way, last year of his contract as well, and so Seattle will have to decide. They brought in Emmanuel Wilson, which was a really nice sort of sidekick in Green Bay to Josh Jacobs. You never really thought much about him unless you were a Packers fan. And you're like, wow, every time the guy touches the ball, he gets 5 yards. So I'm kind of curious how that plays out. Chris Bell was my next guy on the list. And you know how much I love Chris Bell. And, I was excited when the Dolphins drafted Chris Bell as well. You're probably not squeezing much juice out of that this year. It sounds like they're going to take his recovery from the ACL very, very slow. He's running really fast right now, but you probably have lower expectations with what the roster looks like this season and even him coming off of an injury. Mekhi Lemon's an interesting one. I think it's a bit of a leap of faith, don't you, on A.J. Brown's going to be traded and therefore open up more opportunities for him?
I'm still baffled that now the reports are the the Eagles are looking for a 1 and a 2 or a 1 and a 3. That is mind-boggling to me. The expectation was at the draft that he was going to be a Patriot come June 1st, and now that seems to kind of died down, hasn't it?
Well, I don't know what there's, at least for the next 3 weeks, what there's much to say about it. I think it's obvious, as Schefter reported, New England is the front runner. They want him. There's the relationship with him and Vrabes there that goes back like the other relationship, 6 years. But that opens up the opportunity for Lemon in his rookie year, certainly, if they do move. They brought in veterans, like Hollywood's there now, so he will have to fight through some other clutter there initially. The other running backs are interesting, CV. Like, I'll just run through them real quick and you give me your thoughts. Jonah Coleman from Washington lands in Denver, right? And with the Broncos, J.K. Dobbins comes back on a 2-year deal, and R.J. Harvey there as a second-year back, and probably more in line of he's not Darren Sproles, I'm not comparing him, but in that role, Pierre Thomas role, if you will, with Denver. Mike Washington goes to be a direct backup. A lot of people had Mike Washington as the second or third best back in this draft, but Ashton Genty's in front of him in Vegas now. Katron Allen's a late pick, but he goes to Washington, which has got a 7th-round starter in Bill and has got a 1-year, $2 million deal from the Bucks. What's his face there? Number one.
Talking about Rachaad White.
Rachaad White, yes, thank you. And then Emmett Johnson goes from Nebraska to be the backup, it looks like, in Kansas City. And then Kalen Black was a surprise, drafted early, but he could be the caddy for Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco. And Nick Singleton enters a cluttered Tennessee, but both those guys are free agents next year. So interesting landing spots for all the running backs.
No one really jumps out at you.
No, not to you.
No one really jumps out. And then, again, just looking at the landing spots, other than really Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love, how many snaps are these guys really going to end up taking this year?
I guess the two that I'm most willing to go in on are Coleman, because he does remind me a little bit of Maurice Jones-Drew, like very short, stocky, physical, guys bounce off of him kind of a guy. And let's be honest, I love J.K. Dobbins' heart and desire to keep coming back from these major injuries, but it feels like, when's the next major injury going to happen? And I don't think RJ is the kind of guy, at least not what they did last year, it's going to shoulder the load. So I do think there is an opportunity this year and next potentially for Jonah. And Katron Allen too, like, he has 1,000 yards every year at Penn State. Coming into the season, highly regarded as maybe the second best back in America. And he goes to a very, what is it in Washington kind of a backfield. So, the same way that Bill, as a 7th-round pick, was able to evolve, and even Chris Rodriguez was able to evolve there, I think there's an opportunity there for Katron Allen. So those would be my interesting thoughts on the back. What did you think of one more for you? Ted Hurst landing in Tampa. You were a big advocate of the Bucs looking at wide receiver. The Georgia State product goes there.
I understand why they took Ruben Bain. I'm glad they did not take Mekhi Lemon. But I thought a guy like Casey Concepcion in the first round would have been solid addition. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Tez Johnson showed glimpses last year.
Yeah. I was the one that told you I didn't think they needed to really address it. I think the room's fine, but at least they did later. And Hurst, man, if someone looks the part, I know it was at Georgia State, but if someone looks the part, it is Ted Hurst. Well, and it's a redshirt year in a lot of ways. He's unless there's injuries, not going to be a whole lot required of him.
You're also going into a year with a lame duck coach and a lame duck quarterback. Not a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, I teased you this, and you know how much I love Taylor Green, Arkansas. He'll be their starter by the end of the year. Taylor Green's going to start for Cleveland this year. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you.
And they're going
to be bad probably.
They've taken 3 quarterbacks in 2 years, and they will be drafting high and take another quarterback with a top 5 pick next year.
Maybe.
Guaranteed.
Maybe. Next.
and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
A big one as we wrap up the day here on the Beat of Sports. According to Ian Rappaport, Rap Sheet says Aaron Rodgers is expected to visit the Steelers this weekend and likely to play for them this season.
If I'm the Steelers, kick the tires on them. Be done with them. Be done with them.
You don't mean kick the tires. You mean take the tire off and recycle it.
Roll it down the hill. Get far away from it. You don't need him.
If you want to be a playoff team, you do.
Really? What did he show you last year that made
Will
you think?
Howard's not get. What did he show? He showed me he got him to the playoffs. They won 10 games. And actually, the way they've upgraded the roster, I think if they bring him back, they'll do it again. And it's been really popular to pick the Steelers to lose every year and like finally fall off the cliff. They never did under Tomlin.
Well, it's another Mike in town now.
I know. A different coach, different thing. And maybe a resolution
With
coming.
another year older than Aaron Rodgers.
I understand, but I'm not handing the baton to Will Howard. Are you?
Drew Aller?
I'm definitely not handling it. Not yet. Not yet.
Could have had Kirk Cousins. Could have gone a number of routes, but
that'll do it for us. The Herd's up next in the zone at 3:00. Stay right here. I'll be back for Mark tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening today. For Chris Vasquez, I'm Mike Tuck. See you later.